What's up, y'all? I was trying to think the other day of just different stories or different things that I've done to share with y'all. And to be first, I don't think there is a more fitting story time for me or how I got to who I am than going back and pulling something from the Chick-fil-A vault. If you don't know, I worked at Chick-fil-A from 2016 to 2021, and that's a long time. That's a lot of chicken. And there are plenty of stories to accompany it. Now, of course, I have to pick the best one to start out with. And oddly enough, the first story that always pops to my mind isn't necessarily a chicken story at all. It is a story about me getting in trouble, and if you know me, and especially if you knew me at Chick-fil-A, really shouldn't be all that surprising. But before we get into it, make sure y'all check out my other social medias, because I'm probably going to do something similar for Waffle House on TikTok today. And go check out my video from my trip to Chicago with my brother. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, help me out, trying to do a little thing here. So this story comes at the end of my time at Chick-fil-A, and it wasn't the first time that I got in trouble, and I'm pretty sure it also wasn't the last time that I got in trouble at Chick-fil-A before I left. But there was one night we were closing, we were having a long day, as one does in food service, customer service, and we had finished closing. We were waiting on the closing manager that night for the front to finish counting or closing the office, and we were gonna get out of there. Now, mind you, a rule that we had at Chick-fil-A was that we weren't allowed to listen to music. Stupid rule, and one that I would follow while the store was open. But once it hit 10 o'clock and we were gonna be in there for another 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I was gonna play some music. And I had a speaker that I brought with me because I figured, why only play music for my enjoyment when we could play music for the whole store? Well, on this particular occasion, as well as many others, if I'm quite frank, WAP came on up in the queue on my Spotify, and me and my friend Kirk proceeded to rap WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion word for word. It was a great time. Now, important to note, we've already clocked out. We're not really in uniform because we had already taken off our Chick-fil-A uniform shirts, so it's just undershirts and Chick-fil-A gray pants. But one of the girls that we worked with was recording us rap, and we were both aware of it. We were having fun, we were getting into it. She posted the video on her close friends on Snapchat, and apparently one of her close friends was not as close of friends as she thought, because that manager at the store took said video and sent it to another manager at the store who happened to be the owner's son. So this would have been, I believe, a Thursday night this happened. Important to note because my availability at Chick-fil-A was open with the exception of Fridays. Because at the time, I was driving down to Brunswick every Friday to go see my girlfriend because we lived 3 hours away from each other. So Fridays were date days, date nights. I got a text from the owner's son Friday morning asking if I could come up to the store to have a talk. And I knew exactly what it was in reference to, and it absolutely was not going to happen. So I let him know that I would be at the store for my shift Saturday, but I was out of town. Hadn't yet actually left town, but I was making my way out of town, so all the same. Anyways, I drive down to Brunswick. I have a great night with my girlfriend, and if I remember correctly, I spent the night in Brunswick that night because I didn't have to be at work until noon, and I wanted extra time with my girlfriend. So Saturday morning, I get up, I get as mentally prepared to go straight from a 3-hour drive into work as you can, and I headed off for work. Mind you, I got 2 texts from the owner about coming in early to talk with him before my shift, and I let him know the same thing I let his son know, that I was out of town and I would be at the store for my shift at noon. Well, I arrived at the store for my shift at noon, and before I could make it from the parking lot into the store, David was already out there waiting for me. And he pulled me to the side, and I got the whole spiel about being a good steward of the things that are entrusted to me, because that's part of Chick-fil-A's mission, and even when nobody's watching, the things that we do can affect others and affect us in ways we don't realize. And at the time, I was working at my church helping with the production and the stream of the service online. And he made a comment that I'll never forget about, oh, you wouldn't go into church on Sunday and put that music up on the stage. Now, mind you, if I'm being perfectly honest, absolutely not. It's not something I would do. But I'm also not the person that you say you won't to, because that is the quickest way to get me to do something. Instantly. So after David had a good 10-15 minutes on and on about not playing music and not having fun and being miserable while you're at work, even though we were clocked out and not in uniform and it wasn't posted on any public social media, I ended up, following this, getting removed from training because we were getting ready to reopen the other Chick-fil-A that he owned, and we were mass training people to have enough employees for the store. I actually got removed from training following this, which, while I think it was supposed to be a punishment for me, I did not mind whatsoever, because it meant I got to come in on my shift, get in position, and work until I left. But the thing that really got me about this particular Saturday was, after David spent 10-15 minutes telling me that everything I did was horribly wrong, I go inside, I tell the manager to clock me in at noon because that's when I got to work, and I was gonna get paid for the little meeting that I had with the owner. I was supposed to be training 3 people that day. I believe it was 1 person from noon to 4 or 5, and then 2 people from 4 or 5 to 10. As soon as I walked in and let the manager know to clock me in at noon, he let me know that my first trainee had called out, so I was going to be floating, helping around where needed for the first 4 hours of my shift. And then I believe it was by about 2:30, both of my other trainees had called out for the day, which meant that not only could I have spent the entire Saturday in Brunswick with my girlfriend, I also drove 3 hours just to go to work to get bitched out by my boss for having a little fun. And I will give you, the song is not the most appropriate in the world, but I'm off the clock. I'm not in uniform. I am in the store. I didn't record it. I didn't post it. And I'm not saying that I wanted her to get in any type of trouble for recording or posting it. I think the whole thing was silly. I think if anyone, the dude who's snitching needs to get in trouble for being a bad team member. Anyways, guys, as I've rambled on a bit now, the moral of this story is be who you are, always, because I'm gonna try and make work fun, because it can be. Be silly, like, have fun, enjoy yourself, whether it's at work, at home, out and about. Enjoy life, and don't get caught. Until next time, y'all stay safe.